Hello and welcome to another video on Pidini doing stuff and filming it. In an earlier video in this series we did a quick unboxing and had a quick look around this little radio. It's an MT-800 International World Band radio. I think I've got all those words in the right order anyway. In this video we're going to take a closer look at it. At some of the functionality, worked out how to actually use it properly, and then we're going to do a bit of a restoration. It needs a bit of a clean up. It's a bit bashed and battered here and there, so we're going to try and get it looking nice again. And yeah, along the way we'll have a good look at it and we'll see how it works. So yeah, enjoy it and thank you for watching. Alright, so I made a quick update video earlier just to introduce my latest eBay purchase, which was this World Band radio. Now, I've tried some batteries in it, brand new Duracell batteries. I've double checked them, so I have had them a while. I checked them on the multimeter. They're both putting out between 1.5 and 1.6 volts, which is exactly what they're supposed to. But it doesn't work, which is a little disappointing. To turn it on, you operate the volume switch here. There's a click, turn it all the way up, and there's nothing. So yeah, not sure what to do at this stage. Turn it all the way up. I'm not sure if these bits down the front are supposed to light up to tell me what I'm on. I press these buttons. We've got FM, medium wave, short wave. None of them seem to do anything. Yeah, we can push it backwards and forwards along here. Nothing seems to be working. There's no sound coming out of it whatsoever. I'd have thought that'd at least be static, especially on full volume. Got the antenna pulled all the way up. Not a thing. So we're just going to try if I've got any earphones. See, my usual earphones are Bluetooth, but yeah, imagine when this little radio was made, Bluetooth was something you went to see your doctor about.
Oh, you need an ear nail. A nail in my fucking ear.
Let's try my headset, my headphones. Maybe it's just the speaker in it that's fucked. Nothing. No life in it whatsoever. A little disappointing, but never mind. So, alright, we're going to leave it here whilst I have some lunch. I'll leave it turned up. I'll just leave it there like that. We'll see if it comes to life. I mean, I don't know how long it is since this was last used. When I was firing up the other two radios, they had to leave them on for a while before they would start doing anything. So if I leave it on, maybe it'll start making noise eventually. We'll see. It did say on the eBay description, I've just double checked that I didn't order the one that was spares or repairs, and no, it definitely says fair condition, tested on FM and works okay. So yeah, it might be going back. Or if I can't get any life out of it, I'll at least be getting a refund from it. So yeah, we'll let it sit there. I'm going to go get some grub and then we'll see what it's doing in about an hour's time. Okay, interesting. I just took the batteries back out. I wanted to double check that they were good. Put them end to end to make sure I was getting 3 volts out of them like you're supposed to, and yeah, they're fine. When I pop them back in, it's come to life. Obviously it's not tuned at the moment, but there is life in it all go. So I don't know what was up with it a minute ago, but it is now working, which is good. It's on, yeah, FM. See if we can pick up anything. Not bad.
8085 95. That's the telephone number. Should you spot something, please give us a call and we can alert everybody else. Natalie Malcolm tonight with the evening show from 6 sitting in for Thorley. Hear the final part of the evening autobiography with
Don't know what station this is.
All in all, a night for regrets. Not just for getting it so wrong again with me.
This is probably Radio 4. This sounds like the Archers.
Dad as he was coming into the Labour Club and I was leaving.
Yeah,
Nodded to each other.
happy with that.
Not even help.
Let's try some medium wave. It did say untested on the AM stations, but it said FM was working. Screw it. What do we find? I believe 5 Live is still on 909. Let's have a look.
3897321. You can text the word Norfolk. After phase 2, Kiss.
I don't want another heartbreak. I don't need another turn to cry. No, I don't want another heartbreak. Baby, hello. Oh no, goodbye. But you got me like a rocket.
So that tells me that's not 5 Live. They don't have music on 5 Live. Alright. I think they're on 909 and 693. Let's try that. There's that one again.
Relief. It's a very, very freeing experience. So that if you think of something, it's not fake. Maybe it comes across.
I reckon that's probably it.
Living there for many years.
I don't know if this is coming across, but the little, it's just a metal rod. It's not flat. So it looks like I'm on 1000, but across the side I probably am on 909 now, which is BBC Radio 5 Live. So yeah, happy with that. Main reason I bought it though was the shortwave. I wanted a shortwave radio. Being a bit of a nerd, I want to try and pick up the buzzer and any other similar such stations, just because I'm curious and I'm a bit of a nerd really. But it can also be part of our restoration series. You can see it needs a bit of a clean up. Need to reattach that. But yeah, don't know what was up with it earlier, why it wouldn't work, but it's working now. Oh, it's lost its tuning now. Oh, never mind, I'll retune it in a minute. But yeah, it's working now at least. So I'll give it a clean up and then I've got myself a nice little pocket radio. Put that to one side because my food's ready now. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the condition of this before we go into the functionality of it and how it all works. Now, it looks a bit tatty, but then again, if I'm right about its age, it is in its like 40s now, is this thing. So, you know, you can't expect it to be absolutely perfect. The main bit that's letting it down is this grill over the speaker. As you can tell, especially as I move it in the light, it's a bit dented, a bit bashed. It's slightly concave. It's obviously had a bit of a whack and it's bent it inwards. As well as there been a few chips in the paintwork on it. And it's quite loose at the top. I mean, it's secure enough, but it does stand out. So yeah, that's going to be the main focus of the restoration. If I can get that bit of it looking nice, the rest of it is sort of then brought up to standard. Yeah, the side of it, usual wear marks. You can see here a few, you know, a few little marks here and there. This, well, it's not really a screen. This see-through bit of plastic. If I angle it in the light, you can see it's got a few scratches. It could do with coming off and being polished up. But other than that, it's in okay condition, really. You can see, obviously, where this grill has come loose, someone's had a bit of some sellotape or something around it, or maybe it's been taped to something in its life. Evidence of more tape along the top, so all that needs to come off. But yeah, other than that, it's not too bad. I'm quite happy with the condition that it's in. So yeah, the other side, about the same. You know, a few little marks, nothing major. Yeah, I don't know if you can see through the grill. It actually looks quite clean inside there. There's not too much dirt got into it. It's clearly been apart at some point because these screws are rusting. and they look like someone's been over tightening them and has made it slip and wear them out. So yeah, but yeah, other than that, I'm quite happy with the condition that this is in. The aerial as well also has a few marks on it. Again, nothing major. It seems to be black here at the bottom, and then the extension is the usual silvery colour. Lanyard still attached, probably the original lanyard, but of course it's hard to date a bit of plastic string, but it's still very much firmly attached. So yeah, everything works. You can see it's got the usual dirt that you build up in things like an on-off switch. So yeah, it needs a good clean. I need to do something with this grill and this see-through bit of plastic. Other than that, there's not much to do with this to get it looking nice. I haven't yet figured out how I'm going to get this off. I'm probably going to, I mean, I could just pull it off, but I'm probably then going to bend this bit of metal more than it's already bent, and I don't want to do that because we're meant to be restoring it. As you can see, it's already got a bit of a kink in it there. So yeah, might have to be that I get a razor blade and just try and gently pull the glue off all the way around to get that off. We'll do that in a minute. So yeah, that's what we've got to do with it. So we'll have a quick look at the functionality, go over how it all works, because that's quite important, and then we'll get on with the restoration of it. Okay, so functions, as you saw earlier, start off with the most obvious. Your on-off switch is the volume dial here. It's all the way down to the bottom, it's off, and you push it up, there's a click, and it comes to life. And then
you have this like C on sanded
you
feet.
can dial it all the way up.
The C there.
When you want to turn it back off, turn it all the way down till it clicks. So yeah, fairly simple. Headphone jack, standard headphone size. As you saw a minute ago, I did plug my headphones into it that I normally have plugged into my laptop. So yeah, nothing much to say about that. I haven't actually checked that it works since getting the thing working, but I'll do that in a minute anyway, and I'll let you know if it doesn't work. On the front, it gets a bit more interesting. Now, I'll start with saying the needle along here, this metal rod that you can see on the tuning gauge, I originally said that appeared to be bent and it's at an angle. It turns out, after finding another example of one of these online, someone had one that was still in its original box. Now, the listing was from about 2 years ago, so I couldn't buy that, although it would have been cool to have it. The box was a bit tatty, but the radio was as new condition. It looked lovely, actually. I mean, I would have still have bought this, but I would have bought the other one as well, because, you know, having a matching set would have been cool, sort of old and new. But that also had the rod at an angle, so I have to conclude that that's deliberate. And if you look closely, these numbers, the points on the tuning gauge, are also at something of an angle. Now, I don't know why the manufacturer has chosen to do it that way, why it couldn't just be flat and all the numbers flat, I don't know, but yeah, that does appear to be deliberate. It's not broken, which is good because it's one less thing for me to fix, but still, I don't really get why they've done that. So, I mean, it's too subtle to be a design choice. Clearly it was some sort of functionality thing. Maybe they just couldn't get them to line up properly, who knows. So yeah, so that's that, and what happens is you turn this knob, the gauge moves up and down, indicates where you are. FM is here on the end, you have medium wave, and then the rest of it is short wave. Whilst we're on the subject of all the rest of it being short wave, earlier I said this dial is what you use to pick your bandwidth. That's half correct. If you want FM, you press this button down the front. And if you want AM, as in medium wave, short wave, you press this button. So you have to pick which one you want. So you press FM, and then you simply use this end one here, and you dial it to whatever you like. If you want AM, you press that button, and then you use this to pick exactly which AM you need. Now, I said that you move it all the way to that end to finally get shortwave. That's not actually true. It turns out, after a bit of reading into this, that shortwave actually covers quite a large spectrum, much more than medium wave. So pushing it all the way that way gets you medium wave only, which is this second set of numbers here. And you'll notice this little window here now says M in it. And if you move it along, you get different numbers. So yeah, that is medium wave. And then if you want short wave, you move it over to here and you get a 1, and you move it a bit further and you get a 2. And that's correlating to each of these here. So at the moment it's on shortwave 1, so you'd use this third set of numbers, and then you move it along, and then you'd use this next set, and so on and so forth, all the way along the spectrum. Now this is giving your frequency. So FM is measured in megahertz, medium wave is measured in kilohertz, shortwave, just for the fun of it, is also shown in megahertz on here. But whenever you look up a frequency, say I looked up the frequency for the buzzer, which as it turns out you can't pick up in this country, at least not with a bit of kit like this. Anyway, you need something far more sophisticated. Or when I looked up, say, BBC World Service, because I know they happen to transmit in shortwave at certain times of the day. They give up their frequencies in kilohertz, and this is in megahertz. I mean, it's an easy thing to convert, you know, it's just a little bit of maths, but yeah, it does make me wonder why if everything's given out in kilohertz, why build your radio in megahertz? But then again, why have they put this at an angle? Why isn't it flat? I don't know. I don't know how they go about building these bloody things, so yeah. So, I don't know, maybe in the 80s they just like to introduce a little bit of mental arithmetic to their everyday life. I suppose it makes sense, you know, just make things more difficult than they need to be. That was the 80s for you. So, yeah, so that's what you get. So, you start off, these stations here seem to be the most populated, the most popular, but you go through the whole lot, and I can see why they've done it this way with the dial along the top, because to put this entire spectrum into one gauge, it would have to, the radio would have to be like this long. It'd be you know, twice the size it actually is. So rather than have one massive gauge that you have to, you know, work with, they've just broken it up, and you just have to pick which bit of the spectrum you want, and then you tune it accordingly. So quite a clever bit of design there. So yeah, I quite like that. And on the other end, this is your tuning knob. You just dial it up and down to tune it. The aerial's fairly simple as well. It is meant to have a little clip here by the looks of it to hold it in place. But if I'm honest, it doesn't actually go anywhere. It's still quite stiff, but if I move it out of the way, yeah, it's meant to have something there, so when you close it down, it has something to clip into. You have this little cut-out section to get your finger in and pull it back out. Not a great loss, but yeah, clearly it's been broken off at some point. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You'll notice here you've got these 3 little lights as well. I'll show you what they do. If we turn it on, so the first 2 just show you what you're on. So at the moment it's on FM, and if we want to go to an AM station, you press the button and it tells you what it's on. Fairly simple, just an indication. This third light just says tuning. Now I've seen this before on old FM radios. It only seems to work on FM, it doesn't work on your AM stations. But if we can just fine tune this, when it finds a good strong signal, and that's the only way I can think that it works, is when the signal is strong enough, that will light up. If we extend the aerial somewhat on it, so I'm actually getting a good signal. Let's give this a go. There you go. I can only think that is signal strength, but maybe there's something more to it. But that light seems to come on to show that you've found the right tune. You've got it spot on. So yeah, if you've got 2 lights on FM, you're doing well. If I turn it up, it's pretty clear sound. And of course, if you go too far, You see the light's gone out.
But afterward about the Negro Welfare League dance. Seems
So that's what that third light is for. Turn that back off for now. And that pretty much covers the functionality of it. Yeah, there's not much else to say. The other side, you've got your battery compartment, which is just like any battery compartment. You pull this little thing off, 2 AA batteries go in. With this little ribbon, you pull it and it pops out the first battery, so you don't have to try and get your fingernails in there. This little map and diagram on the back, I'm still trying to figure out. We'll cover that later on in this video once I figure out what it's for. It appears to be a map of the world, although it's a bit skew-if because this is Australia over here, when normally you would display it over here. Africa's there, I think, or maybe... no, that would be Africa. And that would appear to be South America, and that's North America now, looking at it in a bit more detail. But then, yeah, what the hell's all this up here? And why is Australia over there? It's a bit weird. So, yeah, I'm still trying to get my head around that. I'm going to get some more information on exactly what that is and how you're supposed to interpret that. And yeah, we'll cover that in a minute as well. So yeah, that's about all there is to say about it. So we'll leave that there and we'll get on with the restoration now then. Alright, so I just quickly wanted to include this bit here. It is 8:05 at night, and all of the shortwave stations that are still in operation around the world seem to have gotten going. When I opened this earlier today, there was nothing to be found on any of the shortwave bands because, well, there were no 24-hour shortwave stations left now. But this is quite interesting. At the time of filming, at least, the war in Ukraine is still going on. I've managed to tune this to the BBC World Radio frequency on shortwave. It's 5875 at this time of day. And that's 5875 kilohertz for Russia and Ukraine. Now, it's not the best signal. We could do with tuning it a little bit better.
Given stolen to us, but we do not have a clear answer yet. The worst thing during the war is not having clear answers to requests for help.
Now, obviously that's in English, which may not be the most suitable for Russia and Ukraine, but it just shows that these old shortwave radios and the shortwave broadcasts have a value. You know, so there's a horrific war going on, and there's been attacks on the infrastructure, communications, you know, as well as several war crimes, unfortunately. But I have no doubt that there are people with radios such as this in that war zone, and these shortwave broadcasts will be an absolute godsend from them. This has been sent out from London, and it's relayed around Europe. I don't know if there are any actual transmitters in the area, but there doesn't need to be. If they're sufficiently powerful enough, they can reach around the world from wherever they are.
Carrier strike groups, submarines, and significant numbers of combat ships on a persistent basis. We will also strengthen our cyber defenses and enhance our exercises, focusing on collective defense and interoperability. We'll get reaction from here to that.
So yeah. So even if they're completely cut off in that war zone, they can still get the news. They're still connected to the outside world. So these little radios, even in the times of, you know, endless data and information available on the internet, these still have a value even today. Right, as I said, main thing I want to focus on is getting this grill sorted out. It's all bent, needs to come off. I need to straighten it out, see what we can do about the chips of paint. This detailing here, I think I'm just going to leave. If I was going to try and repaint this, but then I'm going to end up painting over this detail. and if I try to repaint it, it's just too fine. And if I look at it, it's not actually in that bad of a condition. The lettering is intact. This one's just, it's actually just dirty rather than anything else. It has a slight textured element to it, which means that dirt's then got into it. So yeah, that doesn't need repainting, it needs cleaning. So yeah, I need to get this grill off, and then I'm going to look to try and take this whole front fascia off, so we can at least clean up the front of it nicely, and then we can start moving on to other things. So I believe I should be able to just run this under here, and I'm trying not to bend this too much because I've only got to straighten it back out again. If I can prise this off of here without bending it too much, that would be nice. Oh, there we go. Pop straight off. There we are. That's all there is to it. Now that it's off, you can sort of see the bend that was in it. So yeah, we can get that nice and straightened out in a minute. It is quite easily bent. Yeah, I'll have to be careful with that. I'm thinking, rather than trying to bend it back the other way, I'm just going to apply an amount of pressure to it to squash it flat. If I just press something onto it for long enough, it will hopefully flatten it out. Glad we've got that off. Underneath that then reveals, you can see where it's been glued on, and all this lot around here, the old speaker paper cone. Nowadays, of course, speakers are made of plastic, but back in the day, they were made of paper. So,
Earlier, civilians are actually supplying them.
still works. So we ain't broke it yet. I'm not entirely sure what this little hole here is for. Yeah, there doesn't seem to be anything behind it. There's a little bump, but yeah. Take the batteries out. Ah, there is a screw. I'm not sure it completely lines up. We'll have to see. So yeah. Knock that off. Oh, that's handy. The actual fascia has just fallen off. Oh, that saves me a job then. I'm guessing that was that held in by something? No. Oh, well, I don't know what I did, but it has fallen off. That saves me a job as well. So all we'll need to do on this is get these glue marks cleaned up, try and polish some of the scratches out. It is plastic, it's not real glass. And then we can glue that back down. I'm going to try and avoid touching the actual gauge on the inside because it's perfect. I mean, I didn't realise that was so loose. It has literally just plopped off. It doesn't seem to be very much holding it in, you just sort of bang it out. Alright, so bit of progress, put that out of the way, and let's get to work on these two little bits then. Okay, so I'm just looking over the main unit. I haven't taken the case any further off just yet, but I'm looking at all this here. I mean, first of all, I think the amount of glue and where it is on here indicates that this grill has probably been off before. And I also noticed on the bottom that there's evidence of it here, like it's been left to dry and the glue's run and it has ended up sitting in it. Now, because we've got this textured part down the bottom, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that out. Again, not much of an issue because it normally just sits that way up so you won't see it, and I've only just noticed it, and it's 2 days since this thing arrived now. but it does show it's got some history, and you can see more of the tape marks here. The glue, I'm assuming it's some sort of old sellotape. That should be a little easier to get out. We'll just have to get a toothbrush or something like that on it. But yeah, just how untidy this is, where there's so much of it down here and so little up here. This has probably been off before and someone else has glued it back on. I mean, fair play for keeping it going, but I mean, Jesus, you don't need this much glue, guys. So it's not much of an issue if we can't get it all off, because once we get the grill back on, you're not going to see it. And I'm only going to put my own glue back on, but I would like to try and get some of it off. So I've gone and got my trusty razor blade scraper here, and we're just going to see if we can scrape some of it off. I get the feeling this, whatever they originally used on this, I get a feeling it was something like, say, your Airfix glue, which, to be fair, is very good at holding bits of plastic together. That's why they supply it with Airfix models. But what I've noticed it does is it's almost like it melts the plastic that the two bits of plastic that you're trying to stick together. And then when it dries, they're fused, which is brilliant for the longevity of your models. But someone here has tried to use it to stick plastic to metal, which, yeah, I mean, maybe it's just what they had. Maybe they didn't actually know any better. You know, Airfix glue is sold as quote-unquote super glue. See, I'm getting bits of it off, but not a lot of it's really coming off. We might have to try a different tack, but the problem is the way it works is it's almost like it becomes part of the plastic. You can see up here where they've actually done a pretty neat job. You can barely see it, and there's no way to scratch and get it off. It's actually part of the thing that they've had to glue together. So yeah, we'll keep trying with this. At the very least, I've made a rougher surface, so it won't be easy for the glue to stick, but I was hoping to get that clean. But as I say, it doesn't matter too much. Once the grill goes back on, you're never going to know. So yeah, we can focus on other things for now, but we might have to keep thinking about that. Right, slight change of camera angle, because my back is killing me from leaning around the camera trying to do this. So I've just moved it slightly off to one side, but hopefully you can still see what's going on. It's also going to be quite useful for this next stage. I want to try and get some of the crap out of the speaker. Now, being paper, we don't want to get it wet, and we don't want to use anything too abrasive on it. So we're going to go with this air duster. I normally use it for my keyboard, because it does get really dusty on my keyboard. Should do this job as well. So, an angle. Not the most powerful thing in the world, but I don't really want it to be at this stage. Seems to be doing okay. It's a bit better. I think I am going to get the case off though. I think it'd be a lot easier to clean this if I can get this front fascia off at least. Yeah. Let's give that a go. Just have to fetch my trusty screwdriver set. This looks to be the right size. Let's just try it. Bit stiff. I have to be careful putting these back in. I don't think I have any spares in this size. Look. That's longer than I thought. Giggity.
Giggity, giggity, giggity.
I say that because... Oh, interesting. So one massive one, one tiny thing.
That one is also sexual.
One in there. Let's see, is that looking like it's going to come apart now? I think that's just dislodged the antenna. Alright, let's try this little one in here then. And that's a third design, roughly the same size as the other one. You can see it's got a slight point to it. So, can't see what's holding this together now. I have to say, it is one of my favourite pastimes. When you take all the screws out of something and you wonder why they were in there in the first place, because you still can't get the fucking thing out. That one looks to only hold the aerial in, because it's now loose. Okay. Yeah. Take all the screws out and you wonder why they were ever in there in the fucking first place, because you still can't get the thing apart. Right, okay. So, 3 different types of screw, all of which do nothing. Because this thing still ain't coming apart. Coming slowly. There we go. There we are. Don't know why it didn't want to come apart the first time. Trying to work out what was actually holding it in. I think it's just been in for so bloody long that it didn't want to come apart. Eventually I just prized it from the top and it came loose and I was able to get it out. It's interesting to look at. Circuit board. I mean, by modern standards this is quite primitive, but you compare this to one of the other radios, you know, all because of this little gizmo in the middle, the microchip. Interesting. And the bit that was holding the aerial on, it just sits against it there. That is interesting. I'll try and show you this in there, if the camera will focus correctly. There we go. You can see this as I turn the dial, just like the other 2 radios, there's a little pulley system, a little bit of string in there, moving backwards and forwards. So yeah, as you turn this and it moves the thing up and down, there's a little pulley inside. Quite clever. Interesting how nothing changes. I wonder if it still works. I've cracked it open. Let's drop these batteries in here and see what it does. Yeah. I have to put the batteries in a certain way around. Yeah, the old girl's still working. Turn it off for now. Drop those out. Alright. Now, this must be something to do with the manufacturing process, but there's a hole in the case. If you touch it, it's slightly sticky because it's the back of this sticker. And so you can press against it. Don't know why they've done that, but it has then just picked up some of the dirt over the years. I'm going to struggle to get that off of there because it's glued on. Let's scrape it off with this. Oh, interestingly, if I just rub at it a little bit, I'm actually bringing the old hardened glue off, along with all the other dirt. Right, put that to one side for a good clean up later. I wonder how we get this old circuit board out. It looks like these little pins. Now I'm going to have to be careful here because this bit along the top, which interestingly is another metal rod with copper wire wrapped around it. So if we can push these clips out of the way, but I don't want to snap these off. So we're just going to gently release the circuit board. rise that upwards as we do. This is purely out of curiosity now. I don't need to remove the circuit board. But I kind of just want to see. It's not going to come out easily. Let's just press it back into its clips. It doesn't need to come out. There's no benefit to taking it out. Yeah, we'll leave it in for now. Let's focus on these other bits. First, I need a cup of tea. Alright, so naturally I couldn't leave well enough alone as I was waiting for the kettle to boil, but I did manage to get the thing out. I haven't managed to get the circuit board to come away from this plastic housing, but looking at it, I don't think I actually want to do that. So I'm just going to clip it back in there, but without removing the speaker, we now get a nice view of the front. And see, they've put all the components in the front. You've got all your little transistors, your resistors here. I'm not entirely sure what that looks like, a switch in the middle, but I'm not entirely sure what it's for. As you can see, your volume switch is there. And what that does is, on the flip side, it operates the click that you hear. If I can get this to focus correctly, that little arm there. So as you push it up, it rotates here, and when it's down in the off position, it rotates it such that it just focus it. It rotates it such that, here we go, it pushes this silver arm away from this contact, and then when you turn it on, you see it allows it to complete the circuit. And then as you turn it, it's just a simple potentiometer. The further you push it, the more current it allows through. You know, it's a potentiometer, or variable resistor, I think some people call them. So yeah, so that's the click that you hear. You turn it off and on. Not much else to see on the back other than the microchip, but yeah, you flip it over. I haven't removed the speaker yet, but you've got all this at the bottom. Your little ribbon cable which goes to this second circuit board, which appears to just have these LEDs on. I haven't decided yet whether to remove this screw and try and get this apart as well. I probably won't, because as you can see, you have here the pulley system that's moving this bit of string up and down. I thought it only ran in there, around that little bit. But no, it turns out it runs all the way down about behind here. So if I take that apart, I'm going to try and figure out how that goes back together. And because I can't see what it's meant to look like until after I've taken it apart, then yeah, I'm not really willing to do that, because you know I'll never get it back together. That's how it works. And all it is it's literally, it's just tied in. I've just tied it around and it just moves it up and down. And that's just a paper insert. So yeah, quite interesting. If we can pop this speaker off as well, because it doesn't show what's actually holding it on now. I think it's just glued in as well. I don't want to force that off. If I push it from the other side, I'll break the cone. If I try and prise it off, I've then only got to glue it back on. See, but you can see what I mean by the factory gluing. You can see there's a little gap in it there. But that's it. Just a small amount used effectively. And that's all there is to it. Unlike around the front, where someone's just lathered it on. I suspect what they've done there is they've used the wrong glue for sticking metal and plastic together. When it kept falling off, they just kept using more and more of the same glue until eventually it stuck. Which would explain why it was loose at the top, because they've only used a small amount, and yet I had to really prise it off down the bottom. I'll give it a quick go over with the air duster. Oops. One thing you've got to be careful with these, if you hold it upright, you'll be fine. Slight angle, all the bloody propellant comes out. I mean, it's harmless, it just evaporates fairly quickly. Leaves behind a little bit of residue, but it's actually just because it's so cold, it's more like damp. You can see that'll dissipate in a second, but yeah, the amount of times I've been cleaning my keyboard and yeah, got the angle wrong. Now to let the thing dry out for 30 seconds. Spray that, get that nice and clean again. Good. Right. Let's just try and pop this back together now. Just got to line up the case. If I had a spare one of these, I would quite happily rip one of them completely apart so we can look at all the individual components. But I don't, and I am actually growing more and more fond of this little bit of kit as time goes by. I've already found a nice place for it in the study. This thing is clean enough on the inside. We're just going to blow some of the dust out. Ooh. See here as well the amount of glue that they've used. The black is, like I say, it literally melts the plastic, and if you're sticking two bits of soft plastic together, like say an Airfix model, when the glue dries they're fused and you'll never get them apart because it's not technically two pieces of plastic anymore. But yeah, what it has meant is it's left this god-awful residue on the back. That is just plastic and glue residue. I don't think we're going to be able to scrape this off very well. And again. It's not essential that we get this residue off. If anything, it'll only help the next glue to stick properly. Yeah, always try and use the most appropriate glue. Now, in terms of straightening this out, I don't think putting a weight on it, no matter how long I leave it there, is going to work. It's bouncing back pretty well. All I can think to do is just apply slight amounts of pressure. Problem with this sort of like soft metal is it's reasonably flexible, but it will only bend so far before it stops. But then what will happen is you'll apply more and more pressure and it won't bend, and then it'll suddenly snap. And if I end up folding this in half, I'll never get it straight again. I've managed to straighten out the edges though. There was a slight kink here and another here where it's been bent, and all I did was put it in the pliers and squeeze, and it straightens it out. And if need be, you can apply some downward force, but I didn't really need to. And it's straightened that edge out quite nicely. We'll just do that corner again. There we go. That corner's a little bit better now. Let's just check it. It's still going to fit. I'm going to try and do is bend these edges down slightly, just so it's a little bit more of a snug fit. So all we're doing here is just gripping them with the pliers, just the edge, and I'm just applying finger pressure the other way, just ever so slightly. You can, if you bend something too far, you can undo it, but it's best not to, because eventually the metal will just snap off and then you're fucked. So just applying a little bit of pressure just to bend it down ever so slightly all the way along. It's a little bit better. Let's try that for fit. So that looks like a much more snug fit. What we're going to do when we come to glue it back on, we're going to use some actual proper glue. I'm thinking epoxy resin. We'll clamp it down so it's snug. So yeah, we'll just do the same with the other two edges on this as well, because it only has three. This one's just a flat edge. I don't think it's ever going to be a perfect fit ever again, but it certainly looks a lot better than it did. I think once it's clamped down with the glue in place and then allowed to dry, that should look a lot better. Okay, right. Put that to one side. Let's go find something to clean up all the little nooks and crannies on this with now. Okay, so we're going to call that the end of part 1. I didn't intend for this to be such a long video, but as always when I really get into a project, yeah, I can get a bit carried away and I end up spending way more time on it than I thought. So yeah, this will be the end of part 1. I've actually got a couple of bits and bobs that I need to finish the project on order as I'm editing this part of the video. So once they arrive we can finish the filming and then I can upload part 2. But for now, as you can probably see, we're approaching an hour long, way longer than I intended it to be, so we'll split this up into more than one video. But for now, thank you for watching.